I'm Elisa and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I am super excited to jump into a brand new project for me, and that is December Daily. Last year I really enjoyed watching one of my very favorite YouTube creators, Lindsay Decor, create her very first December Daily album, and I decided to jump in and give it a try this year. I have purchased the Noel kit from Felicity Jane, which came with a bunch of supplies that I'm excited to use as the base for my album. I have a few extra papers here that are from Photoplay that I will be incorporating, and I purchased the Felicity Jane album. It is a 6-ring album in the 6x8 size, and that is what I will be using. My intention today is to create a title page and to set up some foundation pages. I have never done this project before, but all of the advice I've heard said if you set up some foundation pages in advance, that it's a lot easier to put together as the month goes on. So I will put you all on fast forward. If you are doing December Daily and you have some tips and tricks for me, I would love to hear them. Please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will get to work on my foundation pages. Let's go. To start with my album, I kind of arbitrarily put in the pocket pages. I mixed up the sizes and spread them out and decided I would just kind of go with a random assortment. And then the next thing I'm doing is taking these acetate dividers. I'm putting them in between every 2 to 3 sets of pocket pages just to space them out throughout the book. And I decided I definitely want one at the end to kind of close up the last of the book. I do the same thing with the cardstock dividers, and what I love about having this album with the rings is that I can change the order later as I'm working, but this way everything gets into the album. I don't forget to use it because that's something that happens to me a lot, so as many pages as I can find are already in the album ready to go. For my title page, I chose this snowflake print from Felicity Jane. It kind of reminds me of a winter sweater, which I really like. I am not going to have it in a page protector, so I am cutting it down to the size of one of the page protectors, and you can see here I'm sizing it up, and I'm going to color in or circle those holes. I don't happen to have a 6-ring hole punch, so what I'm going to do is just trace those holes in, then off camera I will punch the holes with a regular single hole punch, and then I will have my title page ready to go. The whole Noel kit came wrapped in this beautiful red satin ribbon, and I knew I wanted to incorporate it into my album, and I decided to go ahead and do it on the cover page. Because this particular page is not going to be in a page protector, I wanted it to have as much texture and feel like opportunities to touch as possible, so I thought the satin ribbon would be perfect. And I'm going to wrap the page like it's a gift wrap, so you can see me trimming off the ribbon. I'm just going to use some Tombow adhesive. On this particular one, I am using a lot of adhesive because I know that this page is going to be out. It's going to be turned a lot, and I want it to be nice and secure. So I have my gift wrap secured right there, and then I will just trim off the edges and add some more embellishment. Because the ribbon covered up one of the original holes that I had punched, I had to punch another hole off camera and got kind of a yucky looking punch. And to fix that mistake, I decided I will take these eyelets. These are gold star eyelets, and I'm using the We Are Memory Keepers eyelet setter right here, and I am using it to fill in all of the holes for this page with these gold stars. And this will do a couple of different things. It adds some strength to the page because this is in the front of the book. It'll get flipped a lot, and that way these holes will not tear as the album is handled throughout the years, and it adds a nice little bling. The gold stars are perfect. They match the gold rings in the album, and it really finishes that page and finishes that look, and it's probably something I will continue throughout the rest of the album. Here you see me picking out the rest of the main elements that I want to include on the page. I have a couple of chipboard circles that came with the Noel kit, a beautiful candy striped tag, and then I'm going to use this label to add the year 2019. You can see that the circles say Hello December and Christmas Memories, which pretty much encompasses December Daily. So I'm adding 2019 on this label and then kind of arranging all of the main elements on the page before I add some embellishment beneath them. Like I said earlier, this page is not in a page protector, and I want it to have tons of texture, lots of inviting you to touch and play with it because it is in the very front of the album and I want it to have a strong impact. This is a whole bunch of ribbons that came in the Noel kit, kind of like a whole bag of bits and bobs. And so you can see me, I'm gonna play with the ribbons and use them to stack on top of my gift wrap right here just to add more texture. But as I'm playing around with it, I decide that it's maybe a little bit much, and then I come back through, eliminate some of the ribbons, play around with it. I don't want to overkill. I'm just so excited to get to play with all of these supplies finally that I've been looking at on my desk for just about a week now, that I have a hard time not wanting to just use it all. I love this furry ribbon right here, and I thought it would be a wonderful border around the whole page. I ended up changing my mind because it's just a little too much. So you'll see here, okay, I'm going to start with this black ribbon, and that's the first one that I'm 100% sure that I want to include. I'm going to trim it off a little bit, add some adhesive, and then start putting some of these ribbons down. For these ribbons, I'm going to use a combination of liquid adhesive and a tape runner. And I start off, I'm going to put some tape down right on top of that satin ribbon, and that's going to hold it in place as I'm working. But over the top of that, I am adding liquid adhesive, which once it dries will create a much stronger bond for all of these elements so that they stay in place throughout the years and don't come off. I ended up going with just the 3 ribbons, a red, a black, and a gold, because those are the colors that are on the page. I didn't want to put the green on the page quite yet. I ended up using a lot of red and black and white in this album, and I'm a huge fan. I really, really like it. You can see this is how I'm going to layer my pieces on and put my tag right in there. And I decide I want these to kind of pop up off the page. So I have these foam dots that I picked up at Tuesday morning. I'll add them to the back of each piece, starting with my 2019 here. And that gives it just more dimension on the page, and it doesn't press down on those ribbons too much. So you can still see the dimension of those ribbons, and they still have room to move around a bit on the page. For some reason, I decided to jump down and work on that tag, and I want to add a bow to the tag, and I'm going to use this beautiful buffalo plaid ribbon that was also part of the kit. And I will just create a regular bow on the top. I consider doing a tabby bow or actually looping it around and adhering it that way. But I just very carefully work on just a loose bow to add even more texture and ribbon up top. And I want this tag to look like it is tied on to the gift that is the title page for my book. You can see here I turned my attention back to those chipboard pieces, adding some foam dots on the back of them. I put 2 on the back of that black one, but because this white one is going to live directly on top of those ribbons, I go ahead and put 3 of the circles because, like I said, I really want the adhesive to be strong. I don't want it to fall off as this album is being handled throughout the years. This is my first time to do a December daily, but I kind of imagine being able to display them during the month of December for years to come, and for my kids to be looking through them and my grandkids. So I want to make sure that they are strong and of good quality so that they will last all that time. All of my elements are on the page, and I'm going to do one last little embellishment. There are these beautiful acrylic stars from Felicity Jane, and they have a nice dimension to them. And I will just be kind of spreading them loosely throughout this layout. I put 1 on each chipboard piece and the date up there, and then a couple on the tag, sticking with an odd number, which is always a good idea. And I do adhere them down with liquid adhesive because the bigger the embellishment, the stronger adhesive you need to use. So I'm using a nice, strong liquid adhesive. Once those are down, my title page is done. I move it to the side and take my attention to the inside. This is some paper I picked up actually in Georgia at a very cute little scrapbook store, and it's from Photoplay. I am just trimming out each of these 3x4 cards. I'm going to end up setting out all my 3x4 cards in front of me because I want to see them. You get a whole pack of them in the Noel kit from Felicity Jane, and then of course I have these from Photoplay, and I'm going to set them out kind of at the top of my work surface. That way I have room and I can see what I'm working with. My plan for the opening of the album is to have an intentions page on the back of my title page, And then in this first page, I'm not going to have numbers, but I am going to have a large family photo. And I want to include a calendar of sorts that kind of has all of our activities for the month of December. So I will add those later, but I just stick in that paper because I think it's beautiful and coordinates well with the title page. Here you see me, I'm going to start just putting cards in place. Again, I just want to have paper in place as a jumping off point. I don't adhere anything down in a permanent way when I'm putting together this album so that I can move it later as I'm working and filling in pages and writing out the stories of what happens this month. But for me, it's a lot less intimidating to open up the album and kind of see a page that is filled in, and I could easily just put down a picture, write out some journaling, and that be it. Or if I have time, I can add a little bit more embellishment and add some texture and some different elements to the page. So the goal here really is to just fill in all of these pockets. I can always move things around. I can move pages around. I can add pages in as I am working through this album in the month of December. But I just want it to have a kickstart, something that will trigger my inspiration as I'm working on the page, and that way I will be able to jump in during this busy month and hopefully actually finish this project. One of the things I've learned from others that have used these acetate dividers is that you really need to consider what is going to be behind the divider, because you want the divider to pop and you want it to kind of just flow together with your album. So for this particular one, I'd chosen a very busy paper that was going to be on the next page, so I decided I wanted to go ahead and cover the back of the divider. And what I'm going to do, I pieced out some paper from Felicity Jane. I'm adding some adhesive on the back of that divider, and you can see I filled it in with kind of that candy stripe, and then on the back of it I have a very neutral kind of loose plaid that I can work with from that point. Like I mentioned before, I ended up being really drawn to the red, white, and black elements that were in the photoplay paper, and so much of it was in Felicity Jane. In fact, I loved it so much that I had a little bit of trouble incorporating some of the green, and you'll see that later on. Time I'm considering what's going to go back on the back of that acetate divider, and I really want the Oh What Fun to stand out, so I'm actually inserting a page here. This one is not in a page protector. You can see I just cut out some of that wood tone from Felicity Jane, popped out the holes, just erasing my little pencil marks and putting that in, and now I have that Oh What Fun really pops off of there. Now here's one of the that green element, that green gingham, I had trouble working with, and I had kind of the same feeling with the polka dot paper. I just am not sure what I'm going to do with it, but as I incorporate it into the album, like I said before, I can change it out. I'm actually already considering ordering another set of paper from Felicity Jane just so I can make sure I have enough as I work through this kit, and if I don't end up liking that, I can always cover it with something else through the month, or kind of add a nice big mat and just have a little bit of the green showing. It's up to me as I work throughout the month. I think one of my bigger issues with the green was combining it with that red for some reason, which is ironic. I get it. It's a Christmas album. So what I end up doing most of the time when I have the green is just sticking with green, black and white, or red, black and white. And when the green and red are together, they're very sparse. I don't put a lot of green and red on a page together. So you can see I'm kind of experimenting with some different elements. I had all my paper spread out over my whole desk and was able to pick it up and mix and match, and it was a lot of fun to just get to play with all of these elements. Here, as I'm mixing and matching these different 3x4 cards, I actually end up deciding to alter the one that says "Baby It's Cold Outside." I love the red, but I'm going to trim out the words "Baby It's Cold Outside" and just mount that on top of a gray, because I really wanted this page to just have a little bit more gray to it. I end up adding some glitter paper, which is super fun. It's not something that I get to use a whole lot in my scrapbooking, but I love, love, love glitter. And then I actually use it to mount another card, so there's two elements of glitter on that page. Then I'm actually able to incorporate even more glitter paper on the back of this particular cardstock divider. All I'm doing is mounting it on top of this red glitter paper, cutting it out. I'll pop out those holes, and then I have that particular cardstock piece already mounted on the back with this red glitter paper, lots of pops of glitter on that particular spread. Here is another point where I'm trying to take into account what is going to be behind this acetate divider, and I really end up liking the red, but I wanted the scallops to show, and you'll see I actually make a little bit of mistake. I cut it incorrectly. I had wanted the scallops to be on the left, and instead they're on the bottom because I got distracted singing Christmas carols and didn't pay attention, but that's okay. I can either order more Felicity Jane paper and fix that, or it probably won't matter in the end once I'm working on that particular layout. I was actually really pleasantly surprised at how easily this photoplay set mixed in with the Felicity Jane paper. And again, I think it's primarily because the black and white is a big theme throughout. I like carrying the different papers across the spreads. You can see I have the black and white trees on the upper left and the lower right on that particular one. And again, I'm really liking the gray. I'm anxious to see if I end up wanting to print my pictures in black and white or in color. I would say most of the time I like printing in black and white, especially when there's all different kind of colors represented. But I guess we'll see as the month goes on what my preference ends up being, because there just is so much color at Christmas time, so I wouldn't want to miss any of it. Here I'm getting towards the end of my album, so this last page, that'll be Christmas Day. You can see me kind of putting in a few elements. I'll have that nice black and white paper, December 25th. Again, I'm not adhering anything, I'm just sticking it in there so I'll have it to work with. I like that card that says Christmas is loading, perfect for Christmas Eve. Filling in the last few cards here, the Santa paper works really well. We do Santa at my house, so I'll be anxious to grab some pictures of that. Filling in a few more glitter cards here and there. This is one of the few times I actually combine green and red. And then I imagine myself kind of putting a note on the very last page to kind of sum up how December went for my family. The Felicity Jane kit came with these beautiful chipboard numbers, and I plan to use them throughout. But of course, like I said before, I don't want to adhere anything down. I did want to go ahead and spread the numbers out. And here's why. I wanted to make sure I had enough pages, loosely enough pages. I can always add more if I want. And I just wanted to have kind of a jumping off point. So in the beginning of the month, I leave some more room for talking about some traditions that my family has. And in the end of the month, I leave more room for pictures, like bigger spreads. I'm not planning on documenting every single thing that happens in December. I am planning on sticking more towards the holiday things. We have a lot that goes on with church and with school and just some traditions that we do as a family. So I want to make sure to document those, and putting the numbers in really helped me just give myself guideposts on places where I could aim for. Again, I'm just sticking them in the pockets. I'm not adhering it down, and that way, if it ends up not working out or if I want to switch out pages, I haven't lost those chipboard numbers, and I can just work with moving them around within the album. In general, I stuck with one side of one pocket page being for each day. So like the 18 is all on that left side, and then 19 on the right side, with 20 on the back. I think that that will be enough. I'm a little bit nervous that it's not quite enough room for me to put in pictures, but I've also seen lots of YouTubers and heard some friends that have tried this project, and they really have a hard time finishing it up. And so I didn't want to give myself too much space. So that way, if I was feeling burned out by the end of the month, it would be easy to go ahead and fill up this album. I really had a fabulous time setting up this album, listening to Christmas music, drinking hot chocolate, and getting in the holiday spirit. If you are doing December daily, let me know how's it going for you. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button and leave me a comment below. I hope you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.